Welcome to Franchise Killer, a podcast where we pick movie franchises or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong. All right, up in this whirly bird.
I say
that. All right, up in this whirly bird. I don't think that's going to be the end of our Jeffrey Dean Morgan impressions.
Oh, it won't be.
No. I'm Reese. Across from me we have
David.
To his left.
Irina.
To my right.
I forgot what his name was. the
Willibird.
The government.
He's not a...
Wait, he has some redeeming qualities.
He has some redeeming qualities, yes, but he is a...
But does he have redeeming qualities?
I don't know about that
qualities.
And to answer your question, his name is Harvey Russell. We all knew that.
Harvey
Yeah.
Russell.
Yeah.
Harvey.
Random government agent.
Harvey's the name.
It's actually other government agent.
Oh, that's what it was.
Also known as...
Government
Noah.
cowboy.
And eating people wearing red dresses so that he can gain health. We have...
AJ.
Little reference to the game there. You listeners who played Rampage all the way back in 1986. Of course, we're talking about Rampage, a movie that came out in 2018, not too long ago, just 3 years ago. Directed by Brad Peyton, who also directed classics like Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore.
Oh my gosh.
Journey to the Mysterious Island, San Andreas, and Incarnate, a horror film that everyone forgot about that came out, I think like 2016, something like that. The movie stars Dwayne Johnson, Naomi Harris, Malin Ackerman, Joe Manganiello, Jake Lacey, Marley Shelton, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We got a screenplay by 4 people. Like, there's 4 writers on this thing.
Wow, you really needed those 4 for this one.
Yeah, I know. Really had to bust that script up to get it to proper form for this one. Ryan Engel Carlton Hughes. That's a long name. Sorry, that's actually 2 names that I smashed together.
That is a long
That's
name.
a long name, man.
Ryan Engel Carlton Hughes, Ryan J. Condell, and Adam Ezekiel
Levine.
By the way, that is spelled SZTYKK.
Mikey.
I can already tell you it's Ezekiel.
YKIEL. Okay, say it then.
Ezekiel.
All right, say the full. Give the writer his credit.
Good job, Adam Ezekiel.
Thank you. And it's of course, based on Rampage, the 1986 video game that spawned 4 or 5 sequels to that game.
There are 7 games.
Although I will say this is a very, very loose adaptation of that. The video game Rampage is essentially the slimmest amount of plot to that game. All the creatures are basically mutated humans that turned into animal creatures and started climbing buildings, smashing the buildings, eating people for health, and that is essentially it. Yeah, the military gets involved. You just swipe them away with the click of a button. But that's the game. You're just destroying buildings.
I had the overview here, and you basically just said exactly what it said.
Yeah. So they took that and they made a movie off of that, which honestly kind of makes sense if you're adapting a video game and you just want to tell your own story, though this movie really doesn't have that much of a story, but it does take the basic framework of that game and then just graft a story onto it. For those that are new to the show, on this podcast we first go over our thoughts on the film before revisiting it for the episode, then we dive into the story, break it down bit by bit, and talk about the more significant moments. Then towards the end of the show we give our brief reviews and numbered scores, along with an analysis on the health of the franchise and whether or not this film hurt it. So guys, had y'all seen Rampage before your prep for this episode? Let's start with Noah.
I think you tied me to a chair and put it on for me.
That's what Reese is
No,
into.
I actually think we saw this in the theater.
We did
with Nick, one of our guests.
We did see it. We did see it in
wasn't
theaters.
Theater chair.
Yeah. Irina.
Hell no.
Hell to the nah. Did you have any like knowledge of this movie's existence, or like was this completely new to you?
I think I remember seeing a trailer, and before the title came up, I was like, are they remaking Mighty Joe Young or something? Because I just saw gorillas, and I don't know. I wasn't interested at all.
David?
No, I had not seen this movie. Never. I don't even think I remember this coming out, to be honest.
It's got Dwayne Johnson in it.
I know. And he promotes himself all over the place, so I'm surprised I hadn't. But I've been seeing Jungle Cruise trailers for the past, 3 years, it feels like, so there you go.
AJ?
Guess I'm the outlier here. Yes, I had seen this once before, but I have distinct memories. Well, first, I am a huge fan of the original arcade game and have distinct memories of multiple times of renting Rampage World Tour, the second game on Game Boy from Blockbuster, playing Universal Tour. But no, I loved that game. And to such an extent that I remember seeing the trailer in theaters, and it starts out pretty vague, kind of, is this Mighty Joe Young, but albino. But then they show Ralph the Wolf, and I'm like, wait, no, this can't be. Is this a Rampage movie? And then the final reveal of the trailer is Lizzy coming up from the water, and it's like, this is a Rampage movie. And then the title hits, and I'm like, no way. I was super excited, even though I knew there's no story to make it a movie off of. But it was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
And then I forgot about it, and then eventually saw it on some kind of streaming service.
I should also clarify, I also grew up with the video game, although I played on the PlayStation, Rampage Through Time. I remember playing that one. So that was good times.
Hey, so we got some background on this one.
Yeah.
I guess.
I never played Rampage.
It was
so
my
I have
go-to
no
arcade
connection.
game. Like, if it went to an arcade, it's like, okay, is Rampage here? Is Time Crisis here? Is Metal Slug here? Those are pretty much my go-tos.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with playing a big monster and just smashing buildings and eating people. It's just simple pleasures in that. David, with all that out of the way, you want to give us that call to action before we get into the old story there?
Sure. Oh, gotta get that southern accent. The southern.
You need to drip some syrup down your mouth.
Oh, mint julep.
Molasses.
Mint
Molasses.
julep on a Sunday afternoon. All right. This is Franchise Killer Podcast, and we are Southerners here to implore your support. As it stands, we lack the written affirmation of our listenership sentiment. I request with the utmost respect that you visit our electronic webpage, screampunk.net. It's turning Australian. No!
Lost it.
See, that's why you gotta work on it. Hold on, I can do this. As it stands, we lack the written affirmation of our listenership sentiment. I request with the utmost respect that you visit our electronic webpage, screampunk.net. It's always the screampunk. The origin of our family endeavors and reserve of our... the laughing's getting me, guys. The origin of our family endeavors in reserve of our unreleased episodes. We also possess the Instagram and Twitter ledgers from which we post our most recent publishings. Like, comment, and subscribe. Courteously.
Translation, we need that 5 stars on Apple. That helps.
Oh, man.
Any form of support. We got a Patreon that we got going live soon up in this whirly bird.
The whirly bird is the one.
I'm gonna keep bringing it back. And also up in this whirly bird, we're going to be getting to that plot, which Noah, you have prepared for us.
Yeah, dog.
Give us that story. Up in this whirly bird.
Oh, my gosh.
It's weird. You like hang out with animals more than people.
Yeah, well, animals get me. I rescued George when he was 2 years old. George never would have survived on his own.
He definitely trusts you.
Last night, George was 7 feet and he weighed 500 pounds. George, you okay, buddy? You're scared. It's okay. This morning, he's 9 feet, pushing 1,000. What's happening to my friend?
Are you familiar with genetic editing? Changes will be incredibly unpredictable.
Is he the only one?
Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf? Hell of a day, huh? Science experiments falling from the sky.
Having George on that plane is a big mistake.
I think we'll be all right.
Space serum makes animals big. The Rock, as well as off-brand Caesar, must defeat them and save the world with the power of friendship and crude sign language gestures. Multiple canisters of this serum are dropped from space, leaving them to be absorbed by a wolf, an alligator, and George, our albino gorilla friend. They all grow very large and go on rampages, so to speak. George and the others are then captured by some government with George soon to be put down. Lots of
Not
plot
a Chad.
in this one.
Yeah, you didn't say Chad.
Not a Chad in sight, apparently.
So Brad Peyton and Dwayne Johnson put together this whirly bird of a movie. And sorry, I'm gonna keep
Yeah, we're gonna bar you for saying that.
I can't say it anymore.
No, not allowed. All
Whirly bird.
right, get out of your system.
It's gonna take more than that. All right, so Noah, you and I saw this in theaters.
Yeah, we did.
I saw this again, obviously, for this movie. I still can't tell, like, how self-aware this thing is.
Yep.
Like, there's times when it's being earnest, and there's times when it's, like, definitely tongue-in-cheek and just being, like, a fun B-movie. And we kind of had this discussion. I think there's an unspoken clash of tone where I think Dwayne Johnson, he's being as earnest as possible. He's like,
He does what he does in all his movies.
yeah, he's true to form hero. Like, he's just this honest stand-up guy who does no wrong. And then you have your other characters like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, which we'll talk about later. And just the execution of certain scenes is very almost like, it seems self-aware / tongue-in-cheek. Like, they know that this is a B movie. But I was watching, like, the special features, and they're like, oh yeah, we just wanted to make an epic monster movie, kaiju with emotional moments. But then there's these moments in this that it's definitely like, no, that they know this is.
Dude,
like,
these villains
this is
work for
dumb.
Doofenshmirtz, dude. Like,
Yeah.
It does feel like that.
It does feels like a classic Disney Channel original movie. It's weird. I don't understand the tone.
And I will say, I like it when it knows what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when it doesn't. And I would say it is a 50-50 split as to when it knows and when it doesn't.
Interesting.
Would you agree?
I never felt like it truly knew. I just feel like there are certain actors who decided it was.
Yeah.
Like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, when I first heard him, it made me cringe, as Noah would say. But then the more I heard, I was like, oh, he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
He's in his own movie. And from that point, I was able to enjoy whenever he was on screen.
Yeah.
But then there are just other times where I'm like, somebody should probably tell the rest of the cast that this is a parody movie or something.
So our story revolves around, as Noah already said, this serum that gets released from this space facility, and these three canisters hit at different points, at different areas in the U.S., and various animals are affected by them. George is affected by a serum. He's the gorilla. There is an alligator affected by the serum in Florida, I guess, and then there's a wolf that is also affected.
Lizzo and Ralph.
Yes, Lizzy.
Oh,
Lizzy.
not Lizzo.
Yeah. Of course, before George is affected by the serum, we kind of get this introduction to Davis Okoye, played by Dwayne Johnson, and we kind of get he's showing a couple of these I guess people that want to work there at some point, interns or something. I don't know what they are, but he's showing them around the facility. He's like, "Hey, this is George. Here's the ape enclosure." Him and George have this bond. They like to sign together, and it kind of establishes their relationship just a little bit. I do kind of like George. He's like
They did a good job with George.
Yeah, he's a King Kong, but he's got a dirty side. Like he's kind of like.
It's interesting. When I was first watching this movie with David, the first thing I noticed was they're doing mocap. You know, you know immediately
the facial expressions.
And I was saying, like, don't you think they're doing mocap? And he looked it up, and yeah, it was the same team that was working on Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
And so it's just interesting how that's just the next level, and you can recognize it as their unique computer generated.
Yeah, and the effects are one of the top things about this movie. I think the visualization of George and the behaviors that are captured are really well done. The actor behind that, I had him here. It is actually,
let's mention him.
Yeah, Jason Lyles does George, with the assistance from Terry Notary, who we've known in the he did Rocket from the Apes franchise, and he is and
many others.
He's a motion capture coach through a lot of films, so he's very well known. Weta, who did the effects from this, it was actually very easy for them to do this because they had so much experience from King Kong and Planet of the Apes that just kind of, they had a lot of assets that were easily translatable to this movie. So they were able to do it fairly easily, and that's why this movie actually, and we'll get to it later, but it's not a super high budget, or not as high as you would think. It's still a big budget, but...
I'm also curious, like, how does this work? They also would they have had that albino gorilla makeup logged because of winter? Because of winter?
That's a good question. I don't know, but he is albino. The choice to make him albino was not just because they had the tech to do that, but because they wanted to have his wounds be more visual. Like when he did get wounded, you could see it against the white fur. Sense. And they also wanted to just have something that would distinguish him from King Kong.
I guess I was just asking, like, is that what helped with the budget?
I know, maybe.
Having kind of those textures and stuff.
And the reason that it's not the case, actually, because this came up before war. So they were actually working on this before war. This is in between Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and war. So they probably, if anything, used what they did in this to create winter and war.
That's right. I didn't remember what year this came out.
I think war was 2017. A year
So
before.
war was built on standing on the shoulder of giant gorillas.
I am pretty confident they were working on this before war.
I think you're wrong.
Let's look it up.
I mean, we can look it up.
What was that, AJ?
Nothing.
He was.
But they say he's the only albino in the world, which there was, only one known albino gorilla in the world, Snowflake. So that's an actual thing.
I was surprised to read that was actually accurate. I was like, no way he's the only albino. And yeah, sure enough, there was only been like one albino gorilla.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was accurate.
That's cool to know. But going back to what you were saying, yeah, I was actually impressed by how much I liked this character of George. And I think what I was worried about was actually The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson, let's just call him by his name. Because every time I've seen him in a movie, I've never felt like he was really working that much as far as acting muscles.
Yeah.
I think in this, I see him working a little more as far as making a connection between this character of George.
I don't think Dwayne Johnson is in... He sees himself as almost a brand.
Yeah, he is.
It's
and
less
he
of
is
like
a brand.
Yeah,
No, that's why I was concerned.
He's not. You're not going to see him. Maybe sometime in the future when he doesn't care about it anymore.
Yeah,
you'll see him branch out. But right now he's not going to go method.
No.
In fact, I actually have the only reason he signed on to this was because they changed the script to have a more positive ending. Like the original script for this was going to have a certain character die. Part of his contract is his movies have to have happy endings.
Interesting.
That's why he was in the Tooth Fairy. That makes sense.
He knows what he wants to sign on for. It's almost admirable but I do wish he would kind of flex his acting muscles versus his physical muscles.
Yeah.
But like he likes to leave audiences with a positive feeling.
Yeah, I think that's
welcome.
commendable.
I think it's more to build his brand, but
Well, the thing is,
bit of both.
it's commendable, and I could understand that perspective, especially since he has young children. Like, if you were an actor and you were making movies, you're like, I want something where it's like uplifting and hopeful, because I'm a happy, uplifting guy.
Yeah.
But I think you don't have to have sad endings to flex acting muscles. It's just there have been films I've seen him in where it's just kind of, yeah, hey, I'm Dwayne Johnson. I'm going by a different name here, but I'm still Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
And
welcome.
it's kind of like sometimes Robert Downey Jr. goes in this direction where he's like, I'm just playing myself. I'm not, really.
Samuel L. Jackson.
But I think that's what I was expecting in this movie, and you do see some of that. But there are scenes, I would say, that he actually kind of tones down that his particular brand of swagger and actually has a different character emerge. So we'll bring that up later as we go.
The different character comes into the forefront when he is interacting with George.
Exactly.
When he signs and he's doing all that stuff.
And I think that's why I started talking about it.
Yeah. I do want to read this quote from, it kind of reveals the end of the movie, but when Dwayne Johnson almost didn't take the role, and he said, like, I'm leaving unless y'all change this. Here's the quote, and I got this from Collider.com, but I'm sure it's, like, through other multiple sources as well. He says, so the script comes in, and I'm reading it, and at the end of it, George dies. I'm like, no, did I miss something? George can't be dead, but I go back, and yeah. He says, I don't like a sad ending. Life brings that shit. I don't want it in my movies. When the credits roll, I want to feel great. We had a big meeting where they gave me all the reasons they thought George should die. He sacrifices himself saving the world, killing these animals who had ill intentions to harm mankind. He sacrifices himself like a brave soldier. Okay, but this is a movie. There's a crocodile the size of a football stadium. We're not making Saving Private Ryan.
This is true. That's actually true.
This is telegraphing any Rock movie moving forward, and it makes me think of like Apple and how they're like, you know what? If you're going to use our product, they got to be the good guys. So if you ever see Apple, you're like, hey, they're the good guys.
This also shows me that maybe The Rock or Dwayne Johnson was self-aware of this movie as well. Where he's like, you've got a crocodile the size of a football stadium.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it.
I think Dwayne Johnson is definitely self-aware. He's a very tongue-in-cheek kind of guy.
Yeah, he can smell what's cooking, so.
Yeah.
I don't know about Black Adam though. Like, I gotta know, is he gonna be a good happy ending kind of guy?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds weird.
So back to the story. The serum infects all these three animals, and they start to grow larger. And in the case of the wolf and the alligator, they grow abilities that other animals possess. Like the wolf can now fly like a flying squirrel and has like porcupine quills that shoot out, and the alligator grows spikes on its back like a dinosaur and tusks, and has like weird gecko extremities that allow it to stick to the sides of buildings.
They're hybrids.
Whatever. Apparently in the behind the scenes, George doesn't get any special abilities and just grows larger because he was like slightly less exposed, but whatever. It's
because the alligator directly eats the entire can.
Which that's how science works. But
the wolf,
crispy.
I'm pretty sure, just sniffs it as well.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a B movie. But yeah, these creatures start to change. And George has this big reaction in the facility, breaks into the bear enclosure, kills a bear. Okoye is really concerned about him, and he kind of has this face-off with the police, and then is captured and put on a plane where they are introduced to Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, who is, oh my gosh, I forgot his name already. All the names
Harvey.
are just...
The Whirlybird, man.
Yeah,
Harvey.
Harvey Russell. We have our... and Naomi...
Harris.
Yeah, Naomi Harris's character, Kate Caldwell, who also kind of works there, but she's been... I guess she lost her job, right?
She got fired.
She used
2
to
years
work there.
prior.
Yeah,
But
she
she
lost
grew
her
a
job, but
conscience.
she still knows of kind of the wrongdoings within the company. So she teams up with Okoye, and they kind of jump on the plane with George to kind of just be along on this journey with him to help comfort him. Of course, George has a bit of a freak out on the plane. Plane goes down. What are y'all's thoughts at this point? We've got these two other creatures that are still out in the wild and growing. George is causing problems. Get our big Mission Impossible flight or plane crash. Are y'all entertained, or is this just like not working for you?
It's if it's working for me, it's at the bare minimum.
Surprisingly, I don't know how this works, but it's both. Like, it's not working for me, but I'm still just engaged in it because it's not really trying to do anything deeper than what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's
And that goes back to the self-awareness.
Yeah.
You're like, it does seem vaguely self-aware.
So I guess I'll be the French here again, where to answer your question on, the self-awareness, I got the impression that they were all self-aware, except for maybe Naomi Harris. But I knew going into this is going to be a dumb movie. I mean, just like, I never saw it, but I mean, a movie on the Battleship board game. Like, how deep can you go on that?
Yeah.
So I can't speak to that movie because I never saw it, but I mean, they all know that there's going to be dumb stuff in this movie. They're going to play stereotypical characters. I'm having fun, and especially with how George, his portrayal and his relationship with Okoye kind of caught me off guard in the beginning, so it hooked me emotionally right away. Then I have fun with it. I mean, I'm on board with it. It works for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little more on your side, AJ. Like, I think this is a fun movie. I don't think it's a good movie, but I'm having a decent time with it at this point. Like, this is not a movie I'm ever going to recommend to anyone, but it's you see the poster to this movie as you're scrolling through the various films that you're watching. It's called Rampage. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Like,
It's dumb fun.
Yeah, it's got Dwayne Johnson in the lead, and there's a big white gorilla.
Yeah.
Like, and other monsters behind him. It's like...
Yeah. Well, it's also, to me, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I'm not, like, a huge kaiju film person, but I'm definitely into... I love horror films, and because I love horror films, that means, like, I have a bigger stamina for the lesser ones where I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to watch it because it's fun. So I can imagine someone that loves kaiju films or, just loves video game movies being like, yeah, I watch this. It's fun. Like, it's no big deal, but it's just not my brand of guilty pleasure,
Yeah.
This is when Malin Ackerman and the other guy, whatever his name is,
Lacey.
the two really goofy people working at this in Chicago,
The corporation.
The corporation. They signal all the three creatures to come to the kind of beacon.
They're the only two people that work there, apparently.
Claire and Brett Walden.
But they are just hamming it up. They know it.
They
They
are.
are in a Saturday morning cartoon.
They
like,
really
it is,
are.
Oh, yes.
And when they trigger that signal, and then all of the creatures turn, and this is as George is turning in the plane, and all of them start to turn towards Chicago. Like, I was like, yeah, let's go. Like, I don't care how dumb this is. Let's go. There's going to be a big monster battle. It's so dumb, but cool,
Yeah.
And I think the action is well staged. Like, this, and on top of that, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is just like another person who is just, he knows exactly what he's in. This accent that he's doing is just
He's having
ludicrous.
fun. He's having fun.
I find it so hilarious because he like walks in as if he's from a different era, kind of like he doesn't.
Yes.
He's only partially aware of what's happening, and then he uses words like "whirly bird."
Well, hello there.
Well, he literally has like a Colt 45 like on the front of his like just out there.
It's part of me was wondering if by the end they would encounter some other agent or government officer of some kind. And they're like, oh yeah, and then they would mention his name, like Harvey, and they're like, who? And like he just didn't exist. He was
Yeah.
just kind
I
of
would
there.
love that.
Another thing, this is one of the few movies that is like, there is no pretentiousness in it at all.
No.
It is like, there's nothing about it trying to be high-minded, ever. Like, it's never trying to ask a bigger question than it should be asking. It's just like, we're just throwing you in it.
I will
Like-
argue there is a little thread in there of some kind of moral question.
If it's relevant to the point that we're talking now, please say it. 'Cause
No,
I'm
like
curious.
I'll bring it up later because
Okay.
it's not really embellished yet.
So we got a little ahead of where the plot was. So let's catch up with that. Noah, you want to continue the plot?
The nefarious Energene Company has also engineered a frequency that they can use to draw the kaiju in. Their ultimate goal, of course, is money. They use the frequency and it immediately draws the animals in. George goes berserk, crashes the plane, and heads toward the frequency. It all converges. The animals arrive and attack the city. Energene is knocked the hell out, and George, now with the mental clarity vaccine, throws hands with the other kaiju, ultimately winning the day. Thus ends Rampage.
Short and sweet there.
Yep.
That's kind of this movie. It's like short
Yeah,
and sweet.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no depth.
Yeah. Also, this movie, thankfully, it knows how to, like, what we should see. Like, it is short.
It's
it is
not
mercifully
overstaying
short.
its welcome.
It's like,
Mercifully short.
like, but
My-
you
my
have to
mind.
respect that it knows that.
Yeah.
There's so many
Yeah.
directors like Michael Bay. His Transformers movies are 2 hours and 45 minutes long. Like, they are just butt-numathons. Where it's like
I would like you to coin that term.
But numathons.
I understand.
like, you have to at least give it some credit for
Yeah.
not wasting our time completely. That's just my 2 cents. I also like I kind of like the wolf encounter, even though I think the fact that it has like flying squirrel wings is stupid. I still kind of like how he takes out Joe Manganiello's team.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job of setting up each of these creatures.
Yeah.
In it, like, at least kind of building the anticipation to when they all come together. I'm not saying it's perfect, but
Right.
on a basic
yeah,
level,
it
it kind of
isn't.
sets things up. And I'm already thinking about my score to this movie, and maybe it was a little too low.
That's
'Cause
actually what I was thinking too.
as I'm thinking about it, where I'm
yeah.
like,
Where I'm like, whoa, I'm actually kind of praising
a-
this as I go.
Well, I think
There's
you
a value
feel like
of
you
fun.
have to praise it because to me, this movie is a low tier movie, but it's the high tier of low tier.
no, okay.
I agree.
So I
I'll just say it all goes back to the top question of, does it know, is it self-aware or not?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Is it trying to be better than it is? If it is,
Yeah.
then yeah, it failed. But if it
Yeah.
knows it's just poking fun at itself, then yeah, it succeeded.
I think it's like you're saying. I feel like the question we're trying to debate is that, and the more I talk about it, the more I'm convincing myself that it's self-aware. Because there's no way it isn't. Like, even if you're just looking at this cast, the cast of characters here are obviously actors that they haven't really been some of them haven't really been in a very serious role before. Like, they're usually, a
would say-
lot of them are kind of like,
I'd say Naomi Harris is actually the best, like, actual serious actor.
yeah,
in this
but
movie.
even then, the role
Yeah.
she's playing is of a, like, very obvious, like, almost 007 villain kind
Yeah.
of a thing, where it's like, yeah, and now let's press this button.
No. Naomi Harris is Kate, the journalist.
Oh, she is.
Malin
I was
Ackerman
thinking
is
of
the main.
That's Malin Ackerman.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
the Silk Spectre.
Okay, sorry.
I like those two. I like that evil duo. It's so stupid. But
Honestly,
I like them.
It's stupid. I don't actually like them. I got really bored every time we
Really?
would be on their side. But that one actor, her brother, I think
Lacey.
it is. Yeah.
Jake Lacey's hilarious.
The only
Yeah.
time The only other thing I've seen him in was The Office.
The
He was at the
Office.
very
Yeah, that's
end
right.
of that series. Yeah.
He knows exactly what he's in.
Yeah.
Like, I think does.
He's aware.
They both
I think
do,
she is too. She's
No,
like,
no.
She is.
Yeah, they're definitely aware of what's going on.
I mean, actually, anyone that's in a scene with Jeffrey Dean Morgan has to know.
Yeah, yes. Like Jeffrey Dean Morgan is everyone is the filmmakers saying like, hey, we know this is dumb.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like they approved every scene that he
Yep,
gave
yep.
them.
I don't
Like,
understand how this movie was made. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how was this pitched?
Okay.
Like,
They
What if
made
that
a
was like-
movie
what if-
off of the Battleship board game. I mean,
Honestly-
how much more of a bar do you need to have lowered?
Our first clue should have been Dwayne Johnson is our lead.
Yeah.
Like it's that's it. Like if you
That's
know you're
not
in a scene
fair.
with Dwayne Johnson, like you're just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're
but-
gonna have
yeah.
you're gonna have a good time, and it's gonna have a good ending. Like that's
I think that the property itself. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an arcade game.
Yeah.
also
exactly.
this director's previous movie was San Andreas, a movie that is insanely ridiculous. It's about the San Andreas fault finally giving away and a massive earthquake
Yeah.
happening, and then just all these buildings falling, big tidal waves. The Rock's in that one as well. They have established themselves as these like B-movie this B-movie duo, this actor and this director,
Mm-hmm.
where they just that's the product that they deliver.
Yeah.
I don't know, I
would
feel like-
say
San
Sorry,
Andreas
go ahead.
marketed itself as trying to be a serious movie.
Oh, definitely.
It marketed itself that way, but the movie I saw it didn't feel serious. Like
Yeah.
there's certain moments in that movie where it tries to be emotional, but it's only like kind of surface level emotion. It's never like really trying to punch
Yeah.
you in the gut.
Like
this would be
one?
a good time to mention that sometimes promotional material wasn't okayed by the director or the creators. That's usually the production
Yeah.
company that's trying to market to a particular audience, so it doesn't always match up.
Yeah.
But I think like it can we all agree that now I think we've come to the answer where yes, this is self-aware.
Well,
I think so.
David,
Or
I think
the
David
alternative.
has a-
I'm not really convinced.
Or the alternative being that Jeffrey Dean Morgan had decided, apart from everyone else, no, this is what I'm doing.
And then everybody
and then
jumped on
everyone's like,
board.
dang it!
No, I think it is. I'll go, David. I'll meet you slightly. I will say it's 75% self-aware. I think there's a 25% in there. I think, and this is just me speaking out of my butt, but I think the director is not quite as self-aware as all of the performers and everyone else behind this movie.
I could see that. Yeah.
Like,
Well, because the filming itself sometimes feels very serious.
yeah, but I still think for the most part, this is a bunch of people having fun in a
Yeah.
monster movie.
I would
know?
argue though, I think because the CGI is so good, that might leave you with the impression that it's supposed to be something more than what it is. I think that sometimes really good CGI is a little deceptive in that way because you would expect it to be kind of campy, but it's not. Like
Yeah.
they're using pretty high quality stuff, albeit on a lower budget, but it looks good.
Oh man, I would
That-
love a movie if they did like Pete's Dragon back in the day, where you have like an actual 2D drawing where they have the monsters from the actual game in it, and they're like, "Oh no!"
That'd be
That
interesting.
would actually be really interesting. I would love to see that.
I mean, you got Enchanted. That kind of did it a little
they
bit.
did,
right?
and it was great.
Right? I guess. Kind of with the dragon. No, they made it 3D.
It was 3D.
They made it 3D.
It was
but
3D.
it still wasn't like real.
Into the Spider-Verse with Spider-Pig.
Yeah, yeah.
Back to the plot, though. There's not a lot of plot in this movie. That's why
There-
we're kind of just like straight up reviewing
There's
it.
very little.
Yeah,
plot.
but Okoye,
Almost none.
and Naomi Harris, whatever her name is, and
Kate.
Whirly Bird, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Harvey.
We'll just call him Whirly Bird.
They all head over to Chicago, where all of the various monsters are convening or converging, and a final battle ensues. The government, they're stupid. They're gonna drop a Moab, mother of all bombs, on Chicago because
Genius.
these monsters are climbing up this one building.
That's so stupid.
Literally the plot from Simpsons.
I know. What I will this movie's dumb, but like I like it.
It's fun.
Like,
It's fun.
and I'm saying this, and I know that in my pocket I have a bad score for this movie, and I'm gonna change it. I guarantee. But and this is like kind of a retrospective, like, oh, maybe I actually did enjoy that. The final battle scene in this, and this is just the lead up to it, when the creatures are they're still trying to head towards the beacon, just to like, because they just need to shut it off because it's creating some sort of ringing, compelling noise in their ears that's getting them to go over there. Yes,
frequency.
there you go, frequency.
The beacons are lit and Chicago calls for aid.
Dude, you can't use that word. We got to cut that out. Lord of the Rings is way too good for this.
This is one of those few scenes, though, this final scene, or this final battle, where I was half expecting to see, like, human hands, like, controlling the various, like,
be hilarious.
like airplanes and tanks and stuff, and just ramming them into each other,
Like a
and
toddler, like,
holding the creatures as if they're action figures, just like ramming them into each other. It kind of like sparked those memories of like, yeah, this is like a child's playtime where they're just throwing everything against each other. There's so much kind of fun sequences with these creatures that they're just violently throwing people, destroying things, like breaking everything in sight.
In the end, this is actually just going to tie into like the Page Master, and it's actually just inside of another story, and we're going to call it Rampage Master.
Yeah, there you go. And while I wasn't super impressed with Ralph, I think it's a fine design, but when Lizzy jumps out or pops out of the water there, and it just holds on it as it's just like screeching into the sky. Like I was like, that's cool looking. Like I think the effects are really well done. Maybe I'm praising this too much. Maybe I should just let
you are.
Maybe I should let someone else talk.
Well, here's the thing, and like we are being positive, but looking back on it, I mean, after kind of trying to dig through the fun, I mean, it comes down to, yes, the critique is because the story is dumb. Of course it is. Like, that's not how CRISPR technology works. That's not how any of this works. But
that's not how any of this works.
Yeah. Speaking of which, CRISPR technology is not a fictitious thing. It's actually real.
Yeah.
They just used it.
Yeah. Do you want to give us a quick, like, what is CRISPR, AJ?
I mean, it's genetic sequencing. So, like, I don't know if you ever remember from biology, like you see the lines of, I don't know how technical I want to go into this. I mean, it's basically in this, they're identifying sequences of genes, chromosomes, what have you, that align with certain traits. So, you know, this trait is what's responsible for the tackiness or stickiness of a chameleon or whatever, salamander, whatever one they said was this.
The strength of a Hercules beetle.
Exactly. Yeah. They you know, mix and match, design their RPG character and then put it into a big monster.
Yep, that perfectly executed here in Rampage.
That'll get you a 5 on the AP test biology right there.
Yep. Yeah. Kids, take this to school. You'll get A+ on your tests.
What's the mitochondria, though?
Powerhouse of the
Everyone
cell.
knows that.
Actually, it's not. It's the storehouse of the cell.
There you go.
Nice.
No
Thank
idea.
you. Thank you for that.
I don't know if that's correct.
It's not correct.
So Okoye and Naomi Harris, whatever. Yeah, Kate. Okoye and Kate make their
What
way
a
up.
generic name.
They make their way up through the skyscraper. This is before any of the creatures have reached the top, and they confront Claire and Brett. We all knew their names.
Brett.
And Claire shoots Okoye. Brett kind of makes a cowardly escape. He doesn't care. He's like, I just want to get out of here. I don't care what y'all do. Of course, none of the vital organs of Okoye were hit, so he's all good.
Well, his muscle's already like a bullet buffer. So.
No, I'm pretty sure he was wearing armor in the scene. Plot
no, he
armor.
actually... Oh. So Claire makes her way up to the chopper, which I don't know why she didn't do this earlier, knowing that the creatures were heading towards her. But failed attempt. George has already made it up there. Eats her. This is a reference to the game because she's wearing a red dress. And women wearing red dresses in the game were known to, if the creature you played ate them, they would gain health. So that's just a cheeky little, callback to the game.
Yeah.
Easter egg.
There you go. Easter egg's the word. Thank you. Kind of cool, fun scene, violent. As I said, this is when the movie gets a little more violent than I was expecting. Especially for a kids movie. Sure, I actually think the opening sequence of this movie is pretty violent too. Where you have the overgrown rat in that space facility, and you see this guy with his eye gouged out, and there's a floating hand just passing by the. It gets a little violent.
There's a couple grisly scenes.
Knowing the very little I knew about this movie, when the movie started, I looked to David and said, this is not where I expected it to start. Out in space in some kind of ship. Yeah, I didn't know what I was in for.
So The Rock and why am I saying that? Okoye and Kate get in the helicopter, which is already damaged after George has kind of messed it up and headed on his way, or he's still there. But the building's toppling, and Okoye says, "Oh, it's just riding an avalanche or whatever." And
she's like,
"I actually love that.
What are you talking about?" So then the building falls, and the helicopter's kind of hovering over it. That's totally how it would work in real life. We all know that. They make it to the ground, rough landing, and then now that the beacon has been knocked out, all of the monsters turn on each other. So you've got Ralph and Lizzy and George all just having a big old fight. What I do like is that George is definitely the weakest of the three. Mm-hmm. You can definitely tell he was the least affected by whatever the serum was. So he's the most kind of flesh and blood of the monsters. The other two definitely are more juiced than he is, and they kind of have to use their smarts to defeat them. Another violent scene is them kind of making Lizzy and Ralph, the alligator and the wolf, face off. And it's, of course, easy for Lizzy to just bite the head off of Ralph, which was pretty, I don't know. Intense. Yeah. Just completely bites its head off and throws it to the side. I was like, dang, okay.
I have a feeling this is a movie for a 13-year-old boy.
Oh, it is. And I am a 13-year-old, I'm realizing as we go through this episode. Then we have our final face-off, Lizzy versus George, with a big assist from Okoye in the kind of still in the helicopter operating the gun. The final blow being that a rebar or some sort of thing that George pierces Lizzie's head or eye through, and then it's done for. Honestly, kind of satisfying finale. I actually like the fake out that they think George is dead, because he does get kind of skewered at one point, and you think it's kind of this mortal wound, and and then George comes back with a middle finger, and then it's I honestly kind of like that moment.
Else too.
Yeah, he makes another gesture about him and Kate kind of have this
chemistry.
Okoye says, "Oh yeah, she's part of the family now," and then George makes the
obscene gesture.
Obscene gesture, we'll just say that. But it weirdly works. I thought it was funny. What did y'all think about the final battle? The three monsters coming together, this final confrontation, and then the kind of end of this film.
I think, speaking from someone that gets really tired out by fighting sequences a lot of the time, I actually was fine with it, because it was quick and effective, I think. I like when they don't just keep it going forever, because I kind of just lose interest after a while. Mm-hmm. So I liked it. I think it was... honestly, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed the ending.
Yeah.
So.
And is this the first episode where at least a few of us went in with a thought about how we were on this?
Yeah.
And it's just maybe I was wrong?
I think maybe you and me mostly.
Yeah, the others maybe not.
I don't
but
know.
You and me, I feel like
so
we're
much. Yeah, we're kind of on the same page.
I think we
You're
might
on the same rampage.
yeah. Yeah, any other thoughts on the final moment? Noah and David, did y'all not enjoy that big action sequence at the end
It
of
was
this?
fine.
I didn't really care.
It was more entertaining than most of this movie.
Yeah.
I was engaged. I didn't look away, and I was by the end of it, I was like, "Yay, it's over."
Yay, it's over.
How about you, AJ? What did you think of the final action sequence?
Not long enough.
Yeah, I would say it could have been a little longer. But then it might have lost Irina's attention.
But that's fine. Like it's already a movie that wasn't really marketed for me anyway.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, this is the lightest on story portion we've ever done on an episode, I feel like. But there's not a lot there.
Not a lot to work.
So,
Exactly. It's a very simple plot.
well, I guess here's a negative. And it is a simple plot, so why did they need to complicate it with Kate's dead brother, this kind of downer not that it's a downer, but like it's
Stop
kind of
being a downer with your sad, like,
what a
your
party pooper.
brother's murdered story.
There are a number of things that could be considered negatives.
Yeah.
but it's like, if this is, I mean, it is, but they're self-aware that this is a fun romp. Why did they throw that in there?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they would feel the need to.
Oh, and
Yeah.
you were saying something about how there was a message, however
right.
small.
So as I was watching it, they were kind of hinting at this sort of moral dilemma, I guess, that, is it Okoye? Is that how you say it?
That's,
Okoye.
Dwayne Johnson's
Yeah.
character. Yes. Davis
That
Okoye.
he has a preference to, animals and care for animals over humans, really. And I think he even mentions somewhat of a story. Like, Naomi
the
Harris's
poaching.
Kate, she brings up the whole, like, why do you hate humans? Which I felt was really weirdly unprompted.
It's a little-
It was kind of out of the
a little
blue
awkward.
somewhere. And so he kind of gives his story. But weirdly, a moment I really liked in this movie was at the end when she says, no, he saved so many humans. And he looks around and sees actual people, in pain and trying to get out of the rubble. Like, so many times in movies like this, you see just cities being bashed to a pulp and buildings falling. And you see it a lot in just action films. And I'm always thinking, like, oh, someone worked really hard on that. Or, like, there are people in there. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, man, construction workers are getting a lot of work.
In this movie, it actually did show that they were aware of that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, this is a huge, action film. But also, look at the devastation here. And I kind of liked that moment where Dwayne Johnson, his face kind of changes and he almost realizes, like, no, there is something, that is redeemable about humans.
Yeah.
And he sacrificed himself for all these people. So, like, I kind of liked that. I thought
liked
it was
that
an
too.
interesting inclusion.
There's also something that I haven't seen in one of these big monster movies as well. After, it's in the aftermath of all the rubble. George is back up and alive and he's fine. And the shot, it's like zooming out and you see George just assisting people out of the windows.
Yeah.
Like, of
Oh, that
places.
was
like
cute.
he's like
Yep.
grabbing people from the windows and like putting them down on the ground.
My
That's
first
what they did
thought
in the
was
video
like,
game.
I guess this person trusts him.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's like, I mean, I
They
guess.
don't have
That
much
was
choice.
That was their reference to the video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the video game, you just eat the people.
No, he could put some of them down.
You can?
I believe so.
Yeah, all right. AJ, you want to confirm?
I don't
Can
know.
you rescue
if
people
you
in
could,
Rampage?
I don't know why you would.
I don't know why you would.
Possibly, I don't know. Might have been some of the later ones.
Yeah. But maybe they thought they were being a little too harsh on people, and they're like, "All right, you'll have an option to save them."
It seemed like he was trying to get food and stay away from the military or kill and eat the military people, but like there are certain people you could save. I don't remember.
Well,
It's a
yeah,
vague
'cause-
memory.
I mean, in the game, they are people who are turned. I mean, when you die, you like turn back into a naked teenager and saddle off screen. side of off
It's
screen.
so weird that in the game they were originally humans.
Yeah.
Like, what, you're a human and now you turned into an ape, or you're a human and now you turned into an alligator,
It's
or like
a game.
like
It was the 80s, man. Everyone was on crack.
I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
true.
They weren't.
I
turtles,
also
they were
kind of feel
teenagers.
sorry for these animals that like they just ate a serum and now I'm this big thing and I don't understand what I'm doing and now I'm dead.
Now I'm dead.
I feel the same
Is
way.
that my head coming off?
Yep.
The weird thing is I felt weird that this Okoye character would be all right with having George eat a human. You know? I guess because
she's
he
evil.
hates humans and she's evil, so that's all right. I guess it makes sense.
Still a little
But
messed
it
up.
felt like compromising George's sentiments, I guess.
Man, his ethos was really off there, man. Honestly, it would have been more comical and more in tune with the movie if he just took her and like threw her into the sky, like often it's like whoa.
And
Just like,
then
did she die? Probably, but we don't know.
Probably.
like a Team Rocket sparkle.
Exactly. Blasting off again.
Either. All right. I wanted to ask, because Dwayne Johnson requested a happy ending, do you think the survival of Georgie, wow,
From it.
George, do you think the survival of George improved the film, or do you think it would have been better if he had died?
I think it was the right decision to keep him alive. Like, the other two creatures die. It's right to keep the beating heart of this movie alive, which is George. I
The
feel
movie
like
is too dumb to need consequence.
Yeah, exactly. Like the thing is, in the context of this movie, and believe me, only in the context of this movie, I could believe them creating a special facility for George to be happy in, where they call on him when in a time of need.
Right.
You know, like, but this movie, I think, successfully sets up its world as a stupid world where that would be okay. You know, like,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about that. Like in the real world, no, they'd probably put him down or something. But
Well, and then they're still, still corrupt enough where they're going to take the rat and turn it into a monster for the next one.
yeah, the rat's
Right.
still alive. Apparently, the rat is a character in one of the sequels to the games.
Yeah, the rat, the lobster, and what's the third one?
Yeah, so that thing's still running around there somewhere.
The rat from the space, or the one the
rat
she
from
feeds
space.
in-
No, the one from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Master Splinter.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't sure if he was in this one or not.
Yeah. I before we close out, I actually think having The Rock, as much of a generic performance as this is from him, I think it helps make this movie feel like, something you can kind of root for in a weird way.
Well, no,
where it's-
he makes this movie. He actually makes this movie.
And the
like
pol-
he adds
the
a
visual
presence
polish.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
If the
it's
visuals
also
had flaws,
like,
you wouldn't want to watch it.
Yeah.
the thing is, if you have to know who The Rock is to enjoy this for what it is, which who doesn't know The Rock? But like, he carries a certain baggage with him where it's just this, he's generally pleasing to watch. You're going to get a good time. And with his brand, you're going to leave happy. And he brings that to this movie. Like, you can tell he's given it his all. He's not a deep character in any way. I don't think there's any like real emotional depth to his character at all, but it's like him headlining this thing makes it more valid than other films. So for whatever that's worth,
I love when I get a happy ending from The Rock.
Yeah.
which is all the time.
Yeah.
Except before, back in the day,
What
like
kind of
he
happy
was in
ending?
another video game movie, Doom. He plays the bad guy in that. Remember that?
Right.
Yeah,
That was like
Forgot
before all
about
of his,
yeah.
fame,
When he
real
was still-
fame.
like in Scorpion King, bad guy
I was
as well.
about to reference that. I really wish we could have that kind of performance where, like, in this, if he like does something cool and looks at the camera and like winks,
Does a little eyebrow raise.
well, yeah. Takes a naked lady down a water slide.
That is true. That does
That
happen.
does happen.
That's in the
Oh, wow.
trailer too. All right. With that said, let's close out the story portion of this podcast. This has to be one of the shorter story portions for us, but that's what Rampage gets for not having much of it. you know?
Yep.
On the other end, we're going to get into our reviews with numbered scores, talk about what critics thought, get into some box office, and close out with a little bit of franchise talk. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's review Rampage. David, you've got our scores in a bowl there. They may be inaccurate.
They're accurate to what they were when they were put in. First up is Noah with a 4.5.
Oh, too low.
Is it?
No, I think 4.5 is where this is. I actually think that's really good for a movie that's bad.
That's like Maximum Overdrive. Do you think this is Maximum Overdrive?
Yeah. Honestly, okay. I rated Maximum Overdrive, I think, lower than this. So maybe not quite as bad as Maximum Overdrive, but they're both super campy, just dumb fun movies.
All right.
And this one, I think, they do well with the CG, but and like the characters are fun in their own way, but everything else, it's like, we all know what it is. It's not an amazing movie. They didn't really work hard on it. It's just fun.
All right.
Next up is Irina with a 5.5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bump it to a 6 because
right.
I actually did enjoy watching this. I think my only comparison, because it's the most recent thing I saw before this, was Legend of Tarzan, which we talked about last week, where I was constantly like fading in and out of watching that movie because I was bored. This, I wasn't actually bored because I think it knows what it is and it's giving you the quick version. So for me, that's a positive.
Yes.
And I think while talking about it, I've convinced myself that it is self-aware, even though maybe certain people involved weren't aware of that fact. I still think it's a nice, succinct story. You don't really have to think too much. Just enjoy the Rampage. So I'm going to leave it with a 6.
All right. Fist bump to you, Ariana.
Yeah.
Bam.
There you go.
All right. It's David with a 4.5.
What, David? You're lying.
Not a 7?
No, I gave it a 4.5. It is a not good movie. It is it's a poor movie that had a high level of production, and it's just, to me, unlike Irina, I was bored. Like, I literally came into this, I was like, oh, you know what? This seems like a fun, stupid movie that I could get drunk and eat, junk food. And this is, I don't know.
It is that.
Yeah,
it is that.
I thought it was. And then I sat down and I was bored to death. Like, it was.
I don't see how.
Are you dead, though?
Yes, I'm actually a zombie right now. I am.
So
not the
white
same David
gorillas
you
don't
once knew.
remind you of Yetis?
It doesn't. They're not the Yetis I knew.
No. Here's the thing. They weren't playing football.
Yeah,
That
are
is
you
true.
saying if George played a little football, you would be behind
I'm
this?
saying if Brendan Fraser was in this movie, it would be a 10 out of 10.
So if it had Brendan Fraser and Yetis were playing football and it was actually titled The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, a movie that you gave a 7 out of 10 to, that you would like this movie more.
Yeah, I'd probably give it more than a 7 out of 10, yes.
Okay.
But in the end, this movie was not that, and I thought that everything kind of fell flat. And if it was, I don't know, it just like nothing felt real. And I compare it to a Disney original movie. It's like you're turning on the Disney Channel and you're like, oh, what was it, the ninth year or whatever. It's like this movie feels like it would fall under there, but a higher budget. This is like if you're a dad who's at home and you don't know what to put on for your 12-year-old son, this is it. You might be able to like.
Yeah, and that 12-year-old is going to have the time of his or her life.
He's not. He's going to mediocrely enjoy it, and then you're going to have to find something.
Did you just use mediocre as a verb?
He's going to have
He's going to mediocrely enjoy it.
Wait, so the
he's
movie
gonna watch
is-
I'm sorry, enjoy is the verb. Mediocrely is an adjective.
It's an adverb.
Anyway, so what you're saying is it's not even, it's a negative. It's a net negative. It's not even okay.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I don't want to
Okay.
see it ever again.
How do you say his name? Okay.
Oh, I say Okoye. Yeah, it's
Okoye.
definitely not Okoye.
You're not
I am-
Okoye with
Look,
it?
I know.
And I gave it a 4.5 because of The Rock. Like, I feel like his presence
Yeah,
in this movie
honestly.
is where the points are going. The CGI is another like half point.
But George.
There it is,
George.
that half
CG.
point.
There you go.
And I don't know.
It's
just
more
so
than CG.
stupid.
There was a person there.
It's so stupid.
It knows it.
I don't care if it knows it or not. If I don't like the movie, it's bad. It doesn't matter how aware
All
it
right.
is.
Well, I respect your opinion.
And
Think
I
about
respected yours.
I don't respect his opinion. It's dumb.
I wonder how many other self-aware
you're-
movies
you're-
you watch that you would give a lower score to.
Yeah,
Like,
just
are you
because
saying-
something's self-aware doesn't make it good.
Exactly.
Still. Like,
Yes, it does, because
No,
that means it's what
makes
was
it-
intended.
it makes it better than something that's not self-aware, but it does not make it still
I
good.
think Soldier is a better movie than this.
No.
Yes,
hate
100%.
No.
Soldier is actually significant. I would watch that any day over this.
Can we get to the next scores,
Yes.
please?
Next score is Reese with another 5.5. It's probably going to be a 9. Who knows?
I'm bumping it to, wait for it, 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. The thing is, like, I was with you guys. But I don't know. Sometimes when I just start talking about a movie, I realize I like it more than I thought I did.
That's fine.
And this is one of those. Like, I don't think it's passing. I think it's just right at that level where it's almost at a recommend, but not quite.
Yeah.
You know, you have to. This is one of those movies where you really have to know exactly what you're getting into to enjoy it to the highest extent.
And you also have to like the content.
Where it's like, so for one, like the barriers to entry in this is like, okay, are you a 13-year-old boy? Or
check.
Or do you still identify with like what 13-year-old boys enjoy? If yes, then you are gonna love this thing.
Or are you a person that can identify as a 13-year-old boy and enjoy it at the time, but still have the frame of mind as an adult to recognize it's not the greatest thing?
The thing is, sometimes, and I am older than 13 years old, but sometimes I can tap into that side of me where I'm like, you know what? I can turn my brain off and really enjoy this. And as I'm thinking about this movie, I'm like, yeah, it's doing everything to, you know, try to entertain. It's not overly long. It is an hour and 40 minutes. This thing knows exactly what it is. It's tight. It gives you the action. It gives you the bare, you know, like it gives you like the hero. None of it is deeply fleshed out, but this is Saturday morning cartoons. It is like, yes, grab your cereal, stay in your PJs, watch a big, dumb kaiju action movie. Like, just have fun with it.
I'd rather watch
like,
Pokemon if I'm
look, good for
eating
you.
cereal.
That's you.
I was gonna say, in a sense, I agree with you guys because it's either are in or you're not. I'm not upset by your guys' scores because of the fact that
There's
you
a
can be
scene,
invested.
and this is my review, so shut the F up.
I just gave you props. Leave me alone.
I love you. I'm looking at you in the eyes.
I know. I
I'm
feel
looking
very
into your
uncomfortable.
soul, and I do love
And
you.
he just flipped you off.
Yeah. I just
Like
flicked you
George
off and made an obscene monkey gesture.
You would do that.
There's scenes in this movie where a big monkey and a big alligator with spikes and a flying wolf are just biting and throwing tanks and people and buses and, you know, whatever. It's just, and climbing up buildings, eating people. Like, it gives you all of that. And it just taps into that basic, like, lizard brain. I just enjoy watching this dumb crap. Like, it's like, it is that. It completely embodies that. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not a good movie. It's actually a bad movie. But I feel like it knows it is. And it just totally leans into it, which is something I didn't really realize on previous views, but as we've kind of been talking about it, I'm like, yeah, it does know what it is.
It has my respect. It does not have my good score.
I don't think it deserves as low as a 4.5. I think
So
there's
it's-
enough in this movie that justifies it being higher than that. But that's your review. I'm not going to take that away from you, and I am giving it a 6.5.
It comes down to fun being a component of the quality of the movie
yes.
that adds value to it.
Yes. So, moving on, my 6.5, let's get to the next.
Okay. Last but not least, we have AJ with a score I'm sure we're going to hear a revision of, but we're going to start with it at a 4.5.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm going to change that to a 4.
No comment.
God, this movie was terrible. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to go with 5.
All right.
I get where Noah's coming from. Is yes, is like compared to especially the catalog that critically trying to have a stationary relative, like I guess a goalpost. I'm trying not to move the goalpost. Is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so 5. There is value and fun, which is what I kind of got from Reese's review, and definitely had a lot of fun with this movie. As far as flaws go, I mean, the science is dumb. If there were more characters in this that clearly didn't know that they were in a dumb movie, then yeah, that would be pretty bad. And I still kind of get that from Kate's character, especially with her backstory. It seems like it kind of is an anchor that they either needed to flesh out a full story of driving the plot or just get rid of it altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I wanted them to lean more into the big monster smashing things. Like I could have used more, like I wanted George to, get bigger, and I don't know. I could have used more violence, really, more action, more fights, explosions, destruction. But I would definitely watch a sequel to this where they added, the other new characters and stuff. Like there's definitely a fun component to this movie. And I love Harvey as a character. I mean, he's just silly and dumb. He's an other government agent, whatever that is. I mean, it's just dumb. It is. It's mindless, dumb fun. And if you don't have fun with it, you don't have fun with it. There's not much you can really, discuss about it. But there is a value to that factor for sure. And yeah, but I mean, from a critical standpoint, which I'm still trying to balance, compared to everything else, I think 5 is good.
All right. Hey, fair. We got 3 people upgrading their scores, 2 people staying obscenely low.
I don't feel bad about this because I really don't think people are going to disagree with us.
I know.
I mean, so you look at it this way. So I originally had the same score as David, who clearly did not enjoy this movie. I clearly did enjoy this movie. So, I mean, take that for what you will. It's
Yeah.
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 And I'm actually the same as you, AJ. I actually enjoyed the movie. I just, in my heart.
So
I'm the only one who didn't enjoy the movie.
I think these reviews are reflective of how much we value just strictly being entertained.
I hate fun.
No matter like what it really is.
Well, it has to entertain though. Like,
enjoying is entertainment.
I'm enjoyed by a lot of other stupid movies.
You've enjoyed, you mean?
I've enjoyed a lot of other stupid movies, and this one did not do it for me.
All right.
I
He
think
didn't get the
there's.
happy ending.
I
The
think
Rock didn't
for
fulfill his end of the job.
for critics everywhere, maybe there is a rubric that they all kind of base their scoring on, but we do not have a rubric.
We do have a
and
rubric,
I can
actually.
speak for myself. My rubric kind of changes based on what
yeah.
movies I'm watching.
And it's our feelings too,
Yeah,
like as
it's
we're
our
talking
feelings.
about it. It's constantly evolving.
Hey, you just shat all over AJ's rubric that he created.
No, that's I mean, that's each person in this group. I mean, has their approach. I mean, that's part of the value of the group is the different style and different approach and different perspective.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about it is that we do end up somehow balancing out, I feel like, for almost every movie.
Yeah.
So speaking of which,
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
let's crunch those numbers.
All right, so we have a 5.3 for our group average of Rampage. And that puts it just below. Oh, wait, that's not. Oh, these are all older movies that are on our archive. Okay, so Now You See Me 2 is a 5.6. And Blade Trinity is at a 5.0. So this kind of goes away and filling in that 5 area for our catalog.
Of all the movies that it's around, I'm like, I'm okay with that.
It is better than Now You See Me Too, but sure.
And thankfully scored better than Soldier.
Yes. Thank you.
Much to Irina's chagrin.
And David's, apparently.
I mean, I didn't give it a great score, but now thinking back on it, like that is another kind of like just stupid movie that I actually enjoyed.
I agree though that like the reason it should be lower is like I don't think as many people were self-aware about how goofy it is.
Yeah, the actual self-awareness doesn't always matter.
Spectacle of this movie. We're watching it now. The big skyscraper is falling. It looks freaking cool.
Yeah.
Like it just looks awesome. Like it's like, wow, they put work into that.
Yeah. That's a heavy component to that. I mean, the visuals, if they were more lacking, I mean, not that they are lacking, but if they were lacking in any respect, that would definitely take away the sugar with the medicine.
Yeah.
I guess that's why maybe I disliked it, is because the visuals were solid. It's kind of like a gilded movie. It's like, hey, look at this great polish on this piece of turd. It's just like, yep.
Anyway.
So, yeah.
All right, 5.3 for Rampage. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I'm actually not that upset. I know my score's kind of high, but it's more just like I'm kind of feeling it right now. I'm feeling the movie. I'm like on its wavelength.
You're riding the avalanche down.
Yeah, like I think it does have.
He can feel the frequency.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It has an energy that it's putting out, and I'm picking up on it in real time. Like before this episode, I didn't really feel it, but as we're kind of rewatching it and talking about it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I have different feelings on this.
He smells what the Rock's cooking in this movie.
Exactly. To say it again.
Come back next week to see if Reese changes his mind.
All right. You ready to be a little surprised by critics?
No?
You're not? Okay.
You can tell me.
Critics did not hate this movie. On Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it a 51%, and audiences gave it a 73%.
It's got The Rock in it. Of course they do.
Yeah. On Metacritic, it has a 45, and audiences 5.7. And on IMDb, it has a 6.1. So, for reference, our last episode, Legend of Tarzan, was in all counts lower than that, except on IMDb, which Legend of Tarzan had a 6.2. This one has a 6.1. Still very close. So, for the most part, kind of a crowd pleaser. I mean, people were still fairly mixed on it, and critics were mixed as well. But it seems like it kind of got the job done and was a little more than maybe what some were expecting. Like, this is usually... Like, when you're going into a movie of this, like of this caliber, you're thinking like this is bottom of the barrel. You're really not expecting much, and it seems like it actually kind of blipped on a few people's radars. It's not regarded as a bad movie in any sense. Let's move on to box office. This movie released on July 13th in 2018. Also playing at the time was A Quiet Place, Truth or Dare, Ready Player One, and Blockers. So, worldwide, what did... Oh, I should say budget first. The movie was budgeted at $120 million. So, lower than you would expect for a movie like this. It looks like $150 million, at least, to me. With that said, worldwide, what did this movie do at the box office? Let's start with you, Noah.
480.
480, going big, huh? AJ.
When did you say it released?
July 13th.
2005.
Actually, that might be inaccurate.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it's not right. I think it was earlier in the summer.
You said 2005?
Yeah, 2005.
It's actually April 13th.
2018, right?
2018. April 13th, 2018.
It was only a couple of years.
Imagine if this was 2005, what a great job with their special effects.
Yeah. And then big players were up against Ready Player One, and what else?
Yeah, Ready Player One, A Quiet Place, Truth or Dare, and Blockers.
All right, so we didn't get another one, so I'm going to fall under triple. Let's say 275.
275. So we have 480 from Noah.
Yes.
275 from AJ. David?
240.
240 from David. Irina?
Let's go low. Let's go 200.
I'm just
200.
betting on the Rock star power.
Noah, I think you're closest here. Yes. Yeah, 428 million.
Wow.
Yeah, baby.
For Rampage. Pretty big success. Like, not huge, but pretty big.
Yeah, Noah made the right choice with The Rock. So.
That's almost 4 times its budget.
I could be completely wrong here, but I actually think COVID has something to do with this movie not having a sequel yet. And also The Rock having just such a busy schedule with everything that he does. Like, he's got so many franchises, especially like Jumanji and all those other things that have been slightly more successful than Rampage. Like, Rampage is a successful movie, but I think, yeah, it's just, for one, you have the pandemic hitting right when something like Rampage 2 would be put into production, and The Rock just being like one of the most busy people in Hollywood. But other than that, the movie's like decently, like, it's not well reviewed, but it's not the type of movie that needs good reviews. This is in that category of Transformers where it is honestly critic proof. Like, people are going to show up to see The Rock, no matter whatever reason, unless it's Baywatch, which no one wanted to see that. But
which is weird because of all the movies to see The Rock with the shirt off, that would be the one.
I know. It is kind of weird that wasn't a success. Yeah, so I got this from Wikipedia. It's also taken from other sources, but the director, Brad Peyton, was asked if the rat in the beginning of the film was based on Larry from the Atari Lynx port of the original game. Peyton responded, "We didn't name him Larry, but I'm going to use that if there is a sequel. I'm going to make the rat's name Larry." The film was also speculated to be a prequel to the Walking Dead television series.
No.
Which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because of the similarities between Negan and Harvey Russell.
Oh
That's the only
God.
connection?
Yeah, both of whom are played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like, that was read word for word from Wikipedia, so take that with the biggest grain of salt ever. But that Peyton Reed quote is actually real, of him latching on to the idea of the rat being a creature in the next film.
It's actually a prequel to Watchmen. Because we have 2 people who are in them.
Yeah. Basically, this is connected to every Jeffrey Dean Morgan movie ever. He's actually also the character from Supernatural.
He's in everything.
Every Jeffrey
That
Dean
would
Morgan
make
performance
sense.
is just...
He's a monster hunter, a cryptid
yeah, there you
hunter.
go. There you go. Didn't he die in that show, though?
Take us home, Reese.
Maybe.
Whatever.
Who knows?
Okay, yeah, there's still like loose plans for a sequel to this. It was definitely successful enough with a $120 million budget. It more than tripled that, actually almost quadrupled it. So yeah, there would be reasonable grounds for a sequel to this. I put the chances at a sequel at 30%. I think I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to eventually see a Rampage sequel, because I think it's generally accepted as not a terrible Rock vehicle, but I also think The Rock has better things to do. Like, he's got a lot of other stuff to go on, especially with Jungle Cruise, which was recently announced to get a sequel to that, and we also probably have a Jumanji sequel down the pipe. If there is a Rampage sequel...
It's going to get a 3rd one.
Yeah. If there is a Rampage sequel, maybe... I don't know if they I don't think there's going to be one. Just now that I'm thinking about it.
I feel like they could make it without having The Rock in it, honestly.
I do too, but there's no way it's going to be as successful as this first one unless they find a equal level star. Like,
they're
maybe
bringing Arnold Schwarzenegger in,
or Jason Statham. Like, if you get like Jason Statham, I could see you
or Momoa.
Like, working, or Momoa. Yeah, some other you said Dave Bautista.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I said Momoa.
Batista too, though. Like, get another like big guy to do it, and then maybe I could see it being a thing. But
they're gonna turn it into the
Vin
Scorpion
Diesel.
King, where they just get a new wrestler every other
those
movie.
are direct to DVDs though, and those are, it's
John
like
Cena.
John Cena? Honestly, I could see it with John Cena. You're right.
John Cena's just going to wave his hand in front of his face and the monsters won't see them.
And then it'll be part of the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and G.I. Joe or whatever it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Not Mortal Kombat. What am I saying?
Magic Mike.
Yeah, that would work.
We get Channing Tatum in this movie.
Magic Mike and Rampage come together. He takes down the kaijus with his stripping.
Wait, I just imagine Matthew McConaughey and Channing Tatum and whoever else is in that movie just like stripping and the wall just gets burst down and they all have to figure out how to solve this crisis.
And the rat is just looking at him. The massive rat just
Jeffrey
like, what
Dean
is
Morgan's
this?
like, I need y'all help to get this whirly bird in the air.
This whirly bird.
You got some kaiju to kill.
All right, let's close it out. Yeah, no sequel for Rampage. That's my... I don't think it's getting a sequel, but who knows? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think it's complete... Like, it's not as dead as some of the other franchises we've covered, but it's pretty close to it.
You've got a rat, a rhino, a lobster, and an alien to work with, so...
Heck yes. Bring the lobster. Bring the lobster kaiju. Where is it?
I would love to see a lobster kaiju.
Yeah. Next week, we're closing out our Monkey Business miniseries, the longest miniseries we've done. Sorry, guys, I'm a selfish a-hole. We're closing it out with Peter Jackson's King Kong. I'm excited. I haven't watched this movie in a while, so excited to talk about it. We'll see where we stand. Just for our listeners' sake, we are not going to talk about the extended version. We are talking about the original cut of that movie. So yeah, watch the original cut. That's the one that I think is actually regarded as being better. So that's what we're gonna stick with. So yeah, next week, Peter Jackson's King Kong. We'll see you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
Later.
Weirdos on the internet call him Ralph.